Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, parents, guardians, all others that are watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. I think today is Wednesday. It's probably been a long day for everyone. Thank you very much for your time. I am Mr. Williams. I am your eighth grade student's U.S. history teacher at Diegueno Middle School. And we have quite a bit of information to get through, and I'm going to try to make it as easy on you guys as possible. To start off, let's go with the 800-pound gorilla or elephant or whatever animal 2020 wants to throw at us. This year is different. I think every teacher knows that we're doing 100% of everything we possibly can, and there's 100% more that we're trying to just push and cram in there and deal with. There's been a lot of changes. Everything's digital. We are being asked to do everything and have high standards and have rigorous academics, but also support students. So we're doing less or do more. It's everything is it's a challenge, but I think we're up to the task, and I'm still excited about this year. We're one of the big things is we're being asked to teach about a third to about 45% less time, but still get through the same amount of material. So there's a lot of picking and choosing, and I'm just a little worried that some of our context, some of the little fuzzy details that make that whole picture come into focus, I don't want to lose those. And I think that's really important in a history class so that we're not just dealing with black and white issues. There's a lot of gray area, and I think that's the wonderful thing about history class, especially the way that we teach it in this classroom. The other thing is there's just a lot going on, but you know what? Day by day, we're going to take care of it, and we're going to get it. And I think the big thing to realize is I and probably all the teachers realize that kids are going through this too, and kids have similar feelings. I've seen kids in closets. I've seen kids sharing bedrooms, in their bedrooms, in an office, on the road. They're on screens all day. They've got bad Wi-Fi. They've got bad technology. Which, by the way, if your kid has a iPad they're having trouble with, or their Chromebook is old, mine is. The school has plenty. Let's get your kid a school-issued Chromebook so everyone's on an equal footing and we've got equity. I think that's a really important idea. I wish we had taken care of that day one, but it's never too late to start. So that's the admission that everything's different. As much as it's different, there's still some core values that I hold very dear. Um, some of these are taken from social media, things that I've seen all over. I really want your student to retain their wonder, curiosity, and motivation. And that's really hard doing on a screen. I come in, I turn my camera so you guys could all see, but I don't want to give you vertigo or anything. I come in every day to an empty classroom because I can't really work from home anymore. I tried my garage, it's too hot, but I come in to an empty room and I stare at a screen all day, and it is just not the same. But I'm trying, and I really want to build that connection so that your kids think this is a valuable place to be and valuable lessons are being learned. And that's kind of the second point. Um, I think history class is really important. I don't think, and it kind of runs into the third bullet point down here, the third point. STEAM and elementary schools have not done too much for history or building that engagement with civics. And I feel like it's kind of the lesser subject in the younger years, and I think that needs to change. I want my class to change that for kids. Hopefully, they go into high school kind of excited to learn what has really happened in the world, and not just get a Disneyland version of it where everything's happy and cheery. I want them to value this class. I want the things that they learn to stick with them for a long time, and hopefully change the way they look at things, especially the things that are going on right now today. What a time to be alive. I don't know if I can say that with a straight face. I feel like that phrase means something different now. But the big part is this as a STEAM 21st century where science, technology, engineering, even the arts and mathematics are getting the big push. In elementary school, it's science, math, and English, writing, reading that gets the big push. I still want an authentic experience for your kids where they're dealing with things that have actually happened to real people, whether it was 100 years ago, 500 years ago. I think they have valuable lessons for us today. And I think that's one of the key points of my class is I think there should be relevance. Most important for you guys, contact information. You know what? I've had this screen on my back to school night presentations for years now. Email is still the best, but man, is there a lot of email. You know what? This year, I really want to put the onus on your kid. I'm going to be flexible on my late work policy for a little while now. I'm going to be flexible on things because we just need to be flexible right now. But I really want your kid to have the onus in using the time that we have after school and my little schedule over there, 1:35 to 2:55, pretty much every single day, there's time for those kids to contact their teachers, jump into advisory. We have little periods after class. I do it every Monday and Thursday, but I'm still here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm always here until pretty late, and then I got to go home to my kids. Once I get there, it's kind of shut off. But let's make sure we're communicating. Bookmarking my website in Google Classroom. Once again, that's kind of those things about all those little holes in the dam. Google Classroom is the go-to. I'm trying to run the website and keep it up, and there's always just so much. I'm already saying it once in Google Classroom. I'm already posting it. I'm walking the kids through it. They're there to comment. So I'm trying. There's just, as I'm saying, flexibility. My website's going to be a bit more flexible. I was trying to keep it up, with day-to-day homework, and it's just a challenge. So I'm going to try to be open and honest and forthright with you guys and your kids. Please communicate if you guys need anything. And again, same note, check Aries. That's where your grades are going to be. Grades are, I think, the thing that are getting short shrift right now. I'll talk more about that in a bit. The big questions you guys might have is your kid in a good place? What is my kid going to learn? And is this class going to be relevant? I've got some good answers for those things. I'm a father of 2 little girls. I've got one over there because I had to pick her up from kindergarten. She's hanging out on her iPad. Great. But I've learned a lot from being a parent. And I want to make sure that my kid is always in a good place and that my kid is valued and respected and doing positive things. And I want to make sure that I feel the same way for your kids. I know that's my responsibility. I got to stop saying so much. Sorry. I'll always be there. Sorry. I'll always try and be there, and will always be a purpose, point, or reason. But most of all, for my classes, I hope the kids are getting that I have a passion for this, and hopefully they think I believe it's important. I'm not going to just pass the buck off onto them and have them sit in a seat and fill in worksheets. I really like getting my hands dirty and involved and giving them interesting stuff. I'm going to show you that pretty soon. So please know that that's the type of teacher I am. I don't stand on desks anymore because no one's in desks, but maybe this will give you a clue of what type of personality I bring. And my big thing is it's not just stuff in a history book, but I always want them to, and so I guess not just knowledge, but skills. Like I want them to see propaganda. I want them to see newspapers. I want them to see political cartoons. I want them to be able to interpret things that are going on. Every day, I want your kids' knowledge and ability level to, take a progressive step. And so there is going to be some challenge. There's going to be some hard topics. This is a history class. We need to talk about race. We need to talk about gender. We need to talk about the challenging topics that might be coming up in English class, but less so in science or math, where there's kind of black and white answers. There's a lot of gray area. And so I'm always going to push creative things for your kids to deal with that and open their minds to thinking about that. But I always make sure that they feel supported. I want them to feel that. So if they're not, please let me know. What is my kid going to learn? History, U.S. history. And if you guys thought that was the boring one when you guys were kids, well, don't say that. It shouldn't be. So I always tell the kids, history is not about memorizing names, dates, and places. It's about understanding what people were going through. Because it was people just like us, just at a different time. And man, I think that was easy to say a couple years ago. And now all of a sudden I feel like we're living through it. Whether it's the pandemic, crazy election, all these policies that are going on, there are crazy things that, for a while it was fun to teach U.S. history because all of a sudden the Constitution mattered and we'd have to actually look up, hey, can this happen? And now all of a sudden we're looking at that other end of real life where, wow, this is a historic time. So hopefully when we go through these topics that are going to take us from colonial period that we're doing right now all the way up through the Civil War and the Reconstruction, hopefully they see relevance. Part of my job, a big part of my job, and I'll probably hit it again, but I want to make sure there's a relevant connection to everything we're studying. Baron Friedrich von Steuben, famous in the Revolutionary War, he always said that for American troops, he was in charge of training them in the Valley Forge, his big deal was he couldn't just tell them what to do. He had to tell them what to do and why it was important that they did it. I feel like that's part of my job in history class as well. And so having said that, when you're in my history class, I want to make sure we're doing these 4 things that are stressed nowadays. But really, truly, I want to make sure we're not just sitting and looking at a book and copying a timeline or copying down a map. I want to be deep involved in these things and breaking things down to important issues. This is what your kid is going to see. Google Classroom. This is last year's, but this is the stream. The steam is just kind of spaghetti thrown on the wall. I try to make sure the next page, the classwork page, is always really organized. So I'm going to try to break stuff down by week 4 day. So this is today, Wednesday, 9/16. These are the activities we do in that order. Here's the assignment because it's got a clipboard. This one's material with a little bookmark. This one is another one. I made a 40-minute video that I broke down all the sources, the 5 different sources. So I spent 5 to 8 minutes on each one, broke it down. I want to be there to support your kids to actually take on this difficult stuff. I know some of it's difficult. Now, don't worry, they didn't have to watch a 40-minute video. They could just fast forward to the part they needed. This is the first thing, the attendance check. So I'm going to ask for their name, see if they're there, but then there's also going to be little quiz questions that should either be pretty easy review like this one, or where I'm kind of giving them a bigger picture, kind of an insight into what we're going to be learning, and then the answer choices are super easy. So that's just another opportunity for them to kind of see things in a different perspective. And when I brought up this lesson about the Jamestown DBQ, we wanted to know, why did so many settlers die? And the way I introduced that was that I had kids look at colonial seals. And it was a combination of marketing and propaganda. But ask your kid about this. Ask about the Native American figure that was saying, come over and help us. We had some awesome discussions, awesome things, talking about the primitive grass skirt that was shown and whether that was realistic, the position of the arrow. So big thing for me is I always want to engage through inquiry. So like instead of just plopping the kid down and telling, hey, do this worksheet, we took on Jamestown by taking a look at this. This is the skull of a 14-year-old girl. And I asked questions kind of built up in a very Socratic way to get there. So I want them to feel like the need that they have to participate, at least mentally. I know it's a different year. Not all kids have the microphone and all that stuff. But I'm also going to support them along the way. We talked about Mark Watney from the Martian movie, why he was ideal and how that would have made a difference in this situation. I want there to be a lot of interaction, discussion, involvement, whether their camera works or microphone works. I want them to try. So we have a million different ways to interact, but I really just want to see a positive step by your kids that they're engaging in the class. Some of these things are a little bit, flexible for this year. Let me just check. This is going on too long. I got to get you guys out of here. I always take too long. This is roughly how I would spread out the grades. I already kind of skipped over one basic test because we don't have any test security yet. I know I can do it, but I'm going to save them for the most important things. But we're going to be doing a lot of assignments and a lot of projects and participation. So that's how it's going to go. Homework, this is my old formula, kind of the recommended method. I think it was a Stanford study that said this. This year's a bit different, but they have that time after class. Make sure from 1:35 to 2:55, have that talk with your kids. Are they doing the right stuff? Here's Aries. You guys know all about Aries because you guys are 8th grade parents. And that's something I need to catch up on. I've been putting so much time into building lessons and digitizing everything that's going to be creative and engaging that's been getting the rub. So I know that's where I need to start focusing. Here's my website where the calendar is. Again, we'll see about that, what sticks. But Google Classroom has everything. And is this class going to be relevant? I was kind of mentioning it. There's a couple things. This is a cool document to check out. But I'm all about empowering kids and treating them a little bit more mature than they might normally be treated by other classes or other teachers. But I really think that's an empowering thing to do, especially as a kid that came from a similar environment, got off to college, graduated, and then there's kind of that, oh, what do I do now feeling? I want kids to kind of be figuring that out as long as they go. And is history going to be relevant? I want them to engage with creative stuff like all these little primary sources that we have. History is fascinating, but it depends how it's presented. And my job is to make sure it's fascinating. The other thing is my job is to make sure that your kid always thinks that whatever topic we're doing is the most important one and the one that I care the most about, that I don't have some favorite topic and this other one isn't that cool. My job is to make sure that they think it's all fascinating. The other part of my job is to make sure that I present multiple sides. My job isn't to tell them what to think, it's tell them how to go about questioning things and finding out what they think they should think. So yeah, this class is definitely going to be relevant. There's a lot going on in the world today, and I'm excited to teach your kid. Thank you very much for bearing with me tonight. That turned out a bit longer, and that's just how things go this year, 2020. Thank you very much. Have a great night.